Hello fellow brawlers, I'm KairosTime, and it is time to talk about Dynamike's gadgets and star powers. Dynamike is getting a super strong gadget that I actually think is going to increase his viability a little bit, which he kind of needs right now. We're going to talk about that in depth, talk about his other abilities, and then we'll talk about his best build. And of course, we're going to rank his pins and skins from worst to best. But this is going to be a little bit less biased than how I rank the creator codes.
KAIROS, code Kairos in the Brawl Stars shop.
The third best, second best, and the best creator codes used in Brawl Stars shop. Dynamike's newest gadget is Satchel Charge, which can be used 3 times per match. When Dynamike activates this ability, his next main attack will also stun enemies for 1.5 seconds. This works just like Piper's second gadget, Homemade Recipe, where a halo will actually appear over Dynamike's head, and his attack joystick starts to go crazy like a drink a little bit too much max energy drink. There is not a way to disarm the gadget and save it for another time, so you're going to want to make sure you're careful about when you activate it. Ideally, you should activate it right before you use the attack so that the enemy does not have much of a warning. Now, the stun lasts for 1.5 seconds, which is actually a pretty substantial stun. It's a half a second longer than the stun from Nita's Bear Paws stun, and it's a half a second shorter than the stun from Bo's Snare Bear star power. But the thing is, both Nita and Bo have to charge up their supers in order to stun their enemies, whereas Dynamite can use this whenever he wants to, because it does not require a super. However, it is much easier to successfully stun an enemy with Bo's or Nita's stun because of the nature of their abilities, whereas Dynamike's attack requires some good skill if you're going to guarantee that they will hit. And this makes Dynamike's Satchel Charge gadget a very high skill, high reward ability, which I really like. Now, I should also note that the ability can stun more than one brawler at a time, which makes it great against enemies who are bunching up. Now let's cover Dynamike's original gadget and compare the two. Dynamike's first gadget is Fidget Spinner, which can be used 3 times per match. When he uses this ability, he spins around like crazy while he throws 20 sticks of dynamite in a massive radius around him. Now, the sticks of dynamite each deal 700 damage if they happen to hit a target, and Dynamike's movement speed is also increased during the duration of this ability. As you can see, the damage from the gadget is so spread that you're likely only going to deal 700 damage to an enemy, with a small chance of hitting them either twice or possibly not even at all. So this ability isn't super useful when it comes to dealing damage. However, it does make Dynamite faster than most brawlers while he uses it, which might be exactly what he needs to get away from a close ranged threat. So which gadget is better? This absolutely comes down to player skill. If you're struggling to play Dynamike, his Fidget Spinner gadget is going to make it easier for you to escape tricky situations, and it's also going to help put some distance between you and the enemy, which is really important when you're playing Dynamike because his attacks are less predictable at maximum range than up close to him where they're just on the ground waiting to blow up. So Fidget Spinner is the better gadget for most players. However, in a competitive meta, I think that it is only a B tier gadget since his skilled Dynamike is rarely going to need to escape, and the extra damage really isn't that great. Honestly, most competitive players just use this ability to flex on enemies anyway. But if you are skilled with playing Dynamike, his Satchel Charge gadget is amazing. A 1.5 second stun is all you need for Dynamike to quickly fire off a couple more attacks, and the enemy won't be able to escape. And with 3 attacks, Dynamike is able to take out 33 of the 38 brawlers in the game, and that's on top of any additional damage that teammates might throw their way, which is basically going to devastate anyone who gets stunned by Dynamike. I think in the hands of the right Dynamite player who will know when to use this ability to guarantee that it actually does land a stun, this is absolutely an S tier gadget that will greatly improve Dynamike's viability, which, like I said, Dynamike's kind of struggling right now, so that's a good thing. Now let's talk about Dynamike's star powers and then compare which one is better. Then we'll talk about his best build. Dynamike's first star power is Dyna Jump. With this star power equipped, Dynamite gets blasted into the air by his attacks or even his super. He can use this to jump over obstacles like walls and water, and a skilled Dynamite player can also time this ability right so that he can avoid enemy fire as well. The angle of the jump is all based off of Dynamike's position in respect to his attacks, which makes Dyna Jump one of the highest skill capabilities in the game. Dynamike's second star power is Demolition. This ability adds 1000 additional damage to Dynamike's super, which increases the damage output from 3080 to 4080 damage for every single super. This makes it so that Dynamite goes from only being able to one-shot Tick with his super to also being able to one-shot Spike, Piper, Crow, Bee, Barley, Rico, Nani, Brock, Gale, Colt, and other Dynamikes. This is a star power you don't really have to think about, and it comes in handy every single time Dynamike uses his super, which makes it very useful. But which star power is better? Once again, I think this choice comes down to your own skill. I think everybody who unlocks Dynamike's Dyna Jump star power should absolutely try playing around with it because it is a ton of fun, but only the best of the best Dynamike players can really make use out of it. In fact, most pro players will agree that it is better to go with Dynamike's Demolition star power most of the time. But at the same time, most pro players will also agree that someone that is really skilled with this ability can be really tough to play around. I think some pros could absolutely justify Dyna Jump being an S tier star power, but not all pro players can play the star power well enough to justify S tier, so the best that I can rate it is A tier. And for most players, it is absolutely a B tier star power and should probably only be played for fun, other than when there's a map that's actually really beneficial to be able to jump over obstacles for one reason or another. On the flip side, Dynamike's Demolition star power is always beneficial to use no matter what your level of skill is. The added damage to the super over the course of an entire match is great. Plus, the fact that it allows him to one-shot so many brawlers is really beneficial. I think that Demolition is an A tier star power, though I would recommend that 99% of players should play Demolition over Dyna Jump most of the time. Like I said though, the one exception is when you're playing maps where having the ability to jump over obstacles will give you a really distinct advantage. There used to be some great heist maps that were excellent for Dyna Jump, and there are actually a couple in Siege right now that can really benefit from it, but other than that, go with Demolition. And now it's time for us to talk about Dynamike's best build. The first build I want to talk about is Dynamike's Fidget Spinner Gadget with his Dyna Jump star power. This is the cheesiest build and is probably the funniest to play, okay? Somebody gets too close, jump over a wall. They get too close again, jump over them. And if you happen to get a kill, let the fidget spinner spin along with your rage emote just to show off your dominance. I am not a fan of toxicity, but I could certainly see a skilled Dyna Jumper having a fun time with this build. The next build is his Fidget Spinner Gadget with his Demolition star power. This is Dynamike's easiest build to play with, and it is a great option if you're struggling to push Dynamite. You're gonna have Fidget Spinner ready to go if you need a quick escape or possibly just a little extra damage, and Demolition is going to add a lot of punch to every single super every single time you use it. With that said though, I think that Dynamike's best build overall to use in a competitive meta is going to be his Satchel Charge gadget with his Demolition star power. If you can master how to use Dynamike's newest gadget, he is going to feel so much better than he used to. And if you pair his Demolition powered super on top of a stunned enemy, very few brawlers are going to be able to make it alive because that is a lot of damage. Even if you're not the best Dynamite player though, if you can get a stun here or there from this new gadget, it'll really help out. Now let's rank Dynamite skins and pins from worst to best. First up is my least favorite Dynamite skin, Santa Mike. Now, I've actually mentioned this before, but I am red-green colorblind. Now, just to clarify, that does not mean that I'm unable to see red or green. It means that I see fewer reds or greens than most people do. And for whatever reason, the green and the red that I see here on this Santa Mike, they just don't look good. With that said though, I do love the toys in his sack, so he gets point for that. Next, I'd have to go with Spicy Mike. I actually like most things about Spicy Mike, and I think that I would like him a lot more if he would just clean up his shirt, right? Why does he have nasty green soup on his outfit? Gordon Ramsay would call Spicy Mike an idiot sandwich. Next is my second favorite Dynamite skin, Coach Mike. I like this skin a lot. I think his animations are the best, and it's fun to throw soccer balls or footballs or whatever you call it wherever you live. But my favorite skin for Dynamite is Robomike. He's got some cool voice changes, and the canary under his helmet has decided to take over and join the brawl, and I think that's hilarious. I don't think it's worth 300 gems, but I do think it's worth more than 150. Like 200 gems? Yeah, that'd be fine. As for Dynamite's pins, I rank them in the same order that I do for most of the brawlers. His standard pin is my least favorite, then is his sweat drop pin, and after that is his thumbs up pin, which actually has a little Dynamite stick on it, so kind of cool. And my favorite pin is his heart pin. I just think the heart pins are just like the best to use. And that means that this is Dynamite's best build. Dynamite's Robomike skin, his heart pin emote, and for his abilities, I think that his Satchel Charge gadget paired with his Demolition star power are the best to go with in a competitive meta. I want to know what you guys think about this build, and I want to know what you guys think about Dynamite's newest gadget. I don't think it's going to make him crazy strong because he's really struggling in today's meta, but I do think it's going to make him a little bit more viable, so that's kind of exciting. Make sure you guys subscribe for more best brawler builds just like this video in the future. Use code Kairos in the Brawl Stars shop, and for now guys, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Brawl Stars.